So today we're going to do a review on this Tarion monitor. But before we do, I want to say thank you to Ben for the photo on the back wall here. I'll put a link to Ben below. If you're unfamiliar with this, what we're doing is just asking people to send in their black and white photos to fill the gallery here. And if I'm including it in the video, then I'll do a little feature. All right, so shout out to you, Ben. Thank you very much. Let's get into this review. Okay, so I got a new field monitor the other day. I use them all the time as a monitor on the back of my camera. I've got one on the back of the one here that's recording me. Rather than looking at a small screen on the back of your DSLR for video work, I love to have a monitor. It just plugs in through HDMI lead, and Tarion have got a cracker here. Comes in this lovely case, which I haven't, normally I just, the one I've got at the minute just came as it was in a box. So I haven't done an unboxing because I was more keen to let you see how this works through. So here we go. This is, as I'm using it really, this isn't exactly how the thing came. Let's take this out, let's show you a few bits. Pop the box away. Okay, so this is what I've got come through. I have to say straight away, it is really solid and really well built. It's a metal case, or elements of it are metal anyway, and it really does feel good quality and weighty straight out the box. I like how this, it looks a little bit different to what was on the photo on Amazon in fairness, but if anything it's better. But that just tucks in here, and I keep this on most of the time. The idea being really that if you're out in daylight, then you can view it straight through here and you're not getting a lot of glare come on. But I do filming at my church, in a kind of pitch black environment, and I don't really want to be distracting people as I'm moving around with them seeing this screen. So that again works to eliminate the view for people. Now it did come in with this big stand here, and you've got a couple of screws that come with it, and you can fix those on and it will pivot and sit on here. And I guess you could fix this down somewhere. You've got holes in the bottom of it, although it's weighty enough that I could imagine that would just sit on a surface like this anyway with your two screws in. You can imagine your director sitting over there with his little telly watching what's coming through on a feed. It's not actually how I'm using it. It's not, I've got to say this is a far better monitor than I will ever get the benefit from. It's got a lot more inputs on here. Literally all I'm wanting is a HDMI in, and that'll plug then from my DSLR camera straight into this. That's what I'm doing. It's sitting on top of my camera and being used. The second HDMI out would then go off to a big monitor if I wanted to, again in a studio kind of setup. Camera guy can have one in front of him. A second feed could be going off to somebody else sitting watching. Maybe they're working a jib or something and actually focusing remotely on that. But I'm just really doing a review based on my experience and how I'm using this. I have taken it out 2 or 3 times now on top of my camera. In fact, what I tend to do is use this Manfrotto monopod, and I will have, in fact, let me show you. I will take this camera and put it on here. So my second feed is going to disappear for a minute while I just show you what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm fixing this on the top of here. This came in with the box as well, so that I can mount this on top of my hot shoe. In fact, for the sake of what we're doing here, I'll take this screen off. So I tend to get that tight, tighten it up on the screw here, pull it round so I know I've got, tight friction on that, and then I can lock that in place. And yeah, this is how I'm working. Not normally with this 50mm lens, it's just working nice in this setup. So what do? HDMI lead came with this. So I plug that into the side of my camera. It's the small HDMI lead in there, and then HDMI in. Now, one thing that didn't come in the box here was a battery for the monitor. And I think that would be because it's, let's pop that on there. I've just kept that cable on for now, just to keep that tidy. There is a plate on the back of this, and there is an adapter on here because you can, several sizes of battery will actually work on this. I've slotted this one in place because it's the same size as what I use on the lights that I've got, and it's the same size that I'd already got, which is here, for the previous monitor. Now, the old monitor that I'm using on this camera, one fault that I got with it is when I slotted this into it, it didn't sit comfortably or tight. So if I moved around at all while I was out on site, all of a sudden the monitor would just go and it would stop recording. So it's just a little thing, but it works really well on this. That sits perfectly tight and I haven't had any problems with this. I flick it on over on the battery setting. I've got my input showing up here. And so as soon as I change this over and flick onto my video, within a second or two, there you go. Can you see there's my feed coming through? I'll just turn up the ISO on this a bit so that you can see that coming through. And actually I can adjust the brightness on here as well. I've got that down really low because, again, as I say, last time I was using this I was in church, and it's surprising when you're in a dark environment how bright that is. So there it is, that's my field monitor on there. I'm using Magic Lantern in this, and I've got this set at the minute on a flat colour style, a cine style, so it doesn't look very vibrant on here. Let me just change that over in my picture style. So as I'm pressing now on here, the menu that would be on the back of my camera has now come up onto here. So if I put that on to say neutral, that will give a bit more colour on here. But can you see how useful that is? I've got this flick down as well for it being stored away. So this would be my filming setup. So I can work very comfortably like this. Monopod stands itself, it's got these 3 feet on the bottom, and it becomes a very nice and smooth movement for me to be able to work to. I can tilt this up and down, but it is tons better. I'm now no longer looking at this tiny little monitor. I've got this huge one on the top. The other time I might use this like I'm doing now, if I'm recording on my own and I want to be able to have this facing me so that while it's off and recording, it makes it a lot easier for me as a one-man setup to be talking away to the camera, and I can quickly review on the top and know what I'm looking at, how well focused it is. So what have I got on here? Well, I've got different options, partly through Magic Lantern that I'm using for recording, that it will decide what's coming up onto the screen. I can change on here the view that I want in terms of how much information comes on. So now that's seeing straight through from my camera. That would be what I'm seeing on the back. So let me show you what you do get. You've got dials on here then. Brightness, I can adjust the brightness on a dial. I've got saturation that I can adjust, tint and contrast, and then I've got 4 presets in here. So if I go into the menu by just clicking in here, I've got a full set of options on here. I've got choices in terms of the displays that come up, and then fine-tuning I don't know what I'm doing. So I, for instance, have got this center marker on at the minute. I could put screen markers on here that would tell me the sizes and the formats I want. What else have we got? Further settings on here, language. input formats, and then I can now change my functions for these 4 buttons. So for instance, at the minute, function 1 has got a peaking, so if I touch on here, it will show me red marks around what is in focus, which is again, a lovely feature for any of you guys that do filming like this. To be able to see that and know where the focal point is a big plus. Like I say, there's way more on here than I would use. I'm quite new into this whole thing. This feels very professional, and certainly by the inputs on the back of it, you get the impression this is also could be used on a very high-end filming camera rather than a DSLR like this. But just over £200. Personally, the one I had before was about £130. And this certainly feels a lot better quality. The screen, the view is better, it's sharper. I'm really totally happy with this. Got a headphone slot on here if I wanted to use that. There's a lot of growing room on this. I can actually take this quite a bit further on as I develop in my kit. Who knows what camera might come along next. I know that this will keep up with me, and actually I'll start to unpack new features as we go along. But for now, as a DSLR video recorder, the reason I wanted it was to do this monitor, and it does a cracking job of it. So my only disappointment was that there wasn't a battery come with it, but it's not a problem for me because I've already got batteries around me that I'm already using. I will put a link to these batteries because I've bought a few of them recently, so that you can have that if you want to see what you're doing. The only other thing that I did, more so from instead of all this cable on here, what I did was to buy a small coil. It took ages to come through on Amazon. It was one of these ones I hadn't appreciated where it was coming from, and it took about 3 weeks to come. But I like that. I think that kind of flexi coil on there, much nicer and smoother. It can tuck out of the way. I haven't got a big bundle on the front. Does the same thing then. So there it is, cable on, much easier and neater. It's out of my way, and I've still got that screen on there. Obviously this would be the way that I would be using it, and quite wherever I decide this cable wants to go, it's just a lot easier and it's out of my way. Okay, so there it is. That's the Tarion monitor. Links to it on Amazon. Have a look yourself. Very impressed. Came through next day, I think, on Amazon Prime. Totally impressed with the support, with the guys, with the delivery of it. No problems at all. Lovely little case. As I say, more than enough that you need here. So full marks from me. If you're in the market for a field monitor like this, or like 2 that I've got now, let them grow with you. I would definitely pay a little bit more and get a good quality one like this. So thanks very much, Tarion.